I think the surprising team out of those three would be Indiana. I watched them play State, and, I think the score doesn't say how close the game really was. Indiana's quarterback is definitely no joke, and if they get a healthy running back, he looked good with his leg taped up, and, seeing him fully healthy, I'd definitely keep an eye on him, but overall, I think Michigan will win, those games. I'm not really too concerned. They seem to be moving on and away from the Michigan State game, and I think with Harbaugh, he'll make sure that, that game's forgotten about and we're moving forward. So, you play every game like it's your biggest one, so that you can get to Ohio State with only 2 losses, and then, beat them, and then, you're looking at an outside chance possibly getting into the Big Ten.
Right. Yeah, Rutgers has a couple of interesting players. They're cool, but after the beatdown that Ohio State put on them, they're not looking as much of a threat as they were prior to that. Like you said, Indiana is the one that I circle in that group with the running back and the quarterback and that wide receiver. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but they have a pretty effective trio of players. But and the game is, at Indiana, but I would expect Michigan to take that one. I'm a little concerned, on any given week. I think that Hackenberg needs to show that he was worthy of being touted as a number 1 overall QB. Something has to be buried in that kid, and in that I believe it's a freshman running back that they had well over 150, 160 yards versus Ohio State. That'll be a big test to corral him. And that game, both of those games are on the road, so they're not gimmies. But I am kind of optimistic that they can finish up 10-2 and see what happens in regards to the postseason. That was pretty much it on my intro topics, man. So I'm a little nervous trying to get into some of this hockey, but we'll take a quick break and come back and jump into a little NHL talk and kind of focusing in on the Detroit Red Wings. We'll be back in just a second.
Going for 2, your number 1 source for fantasy sports with top-notch fantasy sports advice, an exclusive community forum, and some of the best and most knowledgeable writers in fantasy sports. Visit today at going42.com. That's going2.com. Going for 2 features NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, and more. And they also provide the best advice for your FanDuel, DraftKings, or daily fantasy sports site. Sign up for the Going for 2 newsletter and get updates immediately through your email. And while you're on the site, make sure you check out the exclusive section, Why I Hate. That's going42.com, GOINGFOR 2. Going42.com. Go visit and get the inside scoop of everything fantasy sports.
All right, and we're back to it. This is the Pay Me No Mind show. This is your host, Wood. I'm on with my guest, Ronnie. We're getting ready to get into some NHL talk. I will say I'm obviously not the biggest fan, and I don't want to try to pull the wool over anybody's eye. But it is an interesting sport. I am, my familiarity with the sport goes back to the Stevie Yzermans, Sergei Fedorov, Chris Osgood, Shanahan, and Scotty Bowman, Dominic Hasek, and one of the best, maybe the top 2 or 3 sports names in all of, in the world of sports. You know what I'm talking about?
Heard the hockey?
Yeah, he played hockey, but he has one of the best sports nicknames of all time, in my opinion. You know where I'm going?
Yeah, I gotta say, I might be drawing a little bit of a blank here. You might stop me.
Cujo, man. Curtis Joseph.
he's a Hall of Famer.
Right. No, just Curtis Joseph was one, like I said, Cujo was one of my favorite all-time sports nicknames. But like I said, that's kind of where, and I really didn't watch a whole lot, but I just knew the team was winning. I know, with the struggles with the Tigers before Dombrowski got in there, with the struggles of the Lions, that's an annual thing. It was just good to know that, Detroit was Hockey Town and or Title Town, but it's officially Hockey Town. But the guys were just always in it. This team has the most Stanley Cups of all U.S. based teams, and then they're third overall. And it's a couple teams, I believe the Canadiens are one. But we're gonna get into the Detroit Red Wings, man. So one of the original six. I believe this is their second year in the Eastern Conference.
Second or third. Definitely no more than the third season. Probably a conference they should have been in the entire time.
Yeah, that was one thing.
Geographically.
Right. That was one thing that always bothered me when I was paying attention to the team. I was kind of shocked to find out that they were actually representing the Western Conference, because I do consider them, geographically an Eastern team. And now it's kind of even amazing looking at that with all the additional travel time that they had, being where they're located and having to play teams in the Western Conference, it's kind of amazing that they had the run that they had, and they're on 23 consecutive years in the playoffs. But it's kind of a new era. I know last year there were some thoughts that they could have beat. Didn't they play Tampa Bay in the opening round?
Yes.
And there was some thoughts that they could have been one of the teams to upset somebody early on, but it didn't happen. Tampa Bay obviously went on to do what they had to do. But so we have a new coach. Mike Babcock left, had been at the helm since 2005. He opted to take a job with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And, what's your thoughts on the new coach? We have a couple of key new players. And Brad Richards, a center, Mike Green, a defenseman from the Capitals. It's kind of odd for me to see Richards coming over from the Blackhawks after winning the championship over there. But we have some new kids, some new pieces to the puzzle. So, what's your thoughts on the new coach, Jeff Blashill, and his role in bringing over these new faces?
Well, I gotta say he reminds me in some aspects of the previous coach, Mike Babcock. I mean, if you listen to the audio, they sound identical. But their coaching styles are similar in terms of, X's and O's, but I think, Blashoff has a little better rapport, being so new in the NHL in terms of, with the free agent market. We struggled for years getting free agents to come here in terms of big-name free agents. And was never, officially noted, but the rumor was it was because we had Babcock, and very difficult coach to play for, the best in the business, but, a lot of the stars kind of didn't want to have to take a back seat to him. So I guess that's one positive for sure, because right off the bat we get Green and Richards. But, he did a lot of good up in Grand Rapids, and was able to develop, through that farm system, a lot of good players that went to the Wings, and he's now coaching them at that level, and he brought a couple guys with him as well. So, he's definitely got the resume in terms of, proving that, he can bring something to the table, and kind of a cool thing with him, he's a Michigan native, and he's always been around here, and to have him coach his hometown team is pretty neat. Good story. But I expect some good things out of him. I expect him, to take them to the playoffs again. And some of the guys he's brought with him, Dylan Larkin, another Michigan native, he was in Grand Rapids last year, and right he's second in points on the Red Wings. He's playing outstanding, along with guys like Riley Sheahan, Smith. He's a couple years here, Polkinen, Nyquist. So all those guys have been through that system, up in Grand Rapids, and it's filtering through. And that's something the Wings have a good reputation on. Is they probably do. I say not only in hockey but in professional sports have the best farm system. The players transfer over very well, adapt quickly, and they're kind of used to the system because it's pretty much how they play it down over in Grand Rapids. So I think he's going to do good things here in Detroit. I think it was time for a change, and everyone was pretty excited for that new change, new era.
Is the farm team, the Grand Rapids Griffins, is that kind of akin to what we see with maybe the farm system for St. Louis over in the baseball, in the major leagues, or the drafting that we've praised, the Patriots or the Steel, an organization like the Steelers? Is it kind of that similar organization or team building that goes on year and year? Is it something like that?
Yeah, I would say that's a really good comparison. I think the culture, the system that they built there is one that's just has instant credibility to anyone that walks through either of those locker rooms. And the guys there, they just believe in the system, and that's why for as long as I've been alive, the Red Wings have been making the playoffs. And it's just, if you look at franchises in all of sports, they are, without question, the most consistent. And if you want to, measure a franchise on playoffs and championships, I mean, they're definitely one of the ones that you have to say has run the best and has had the most success, because there is no one else in any sport that's made it to the playoffs or postseason as many years consecutively as the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are outdoing the New York Yankees or the Los Angeles Lakers or the Boston Celtics. I mean, that's just phenomenal to see the success that they've had. So what's with the new additions, like I said, in a Brad Richards or Mike Green, what do they bring to the table instantly to pair in with some of the farm system guys that you just mentioned?
Well, I think the biggest impact will be, Mike Green on defense. Basically for the fact that I think the Red Wings have always struggled, defensively since Lidstrom retired, and they've also lacked right-handed shots, and now they have one back there. But he brings a lot of veteran leadership, and that's kind of something the Wings need. Right now they have Nicholas Kronwall, Erickson back there as their current leaders. But this entire time I never really thought they were the guys to kind of come in and take leadership of the defensive group. So I think, Green brings something to the power play and the points in terms of shooting from the blue line with that right-handed shot, because most defensemen, the Wings, not all, are that left-handed shot. So that definitely comes into play with the power play. Richards, good player, had a great season, pretty good season last year in Chicago, another older veteran who, I think can teach these guys some of the ins and outs of the game and just how to play a little smarter, because some of the young guys, you definitely see some younger rookie, we'll call them, mistakes or things you just can't really consistently do, and you got to learn from the older veterans to kind of watch how they do it and teach them not to make those mistakes.
Right, I see he's maybe ninth in scoring of all active players. So I mean, it seems like we bring some offense in, or they bring some offense in.